When did you begin using speech as a source of melody, for example? Was Different Trains the first time that was used?
Well, different trains. Remember, the very first piece that I did that we were talking about was "It's Gonna Rain," which was a loop of speech, and because I chose a loop which was "It's gonna rain," da, 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 very melodic. And by the way, what you may not notice, but which is essential to the loop, is at the moment when he said that, a pigeon took off. So you've got "It's gonna rain, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain." I got a pigeon drummer, man, free.
Yeah, didn't even have to pay him royalties.
Yeah. I mean, he should have got a double from the union, but some pigeons are luckier than others. So that loop was amazing because it had this built-in pulse and this incredible voice. And you could say of "It's Gonna Rain" or of "Come Out" later on, it's just like music. It doesn't have musical instruments, but because of the effect of the very pronounced speech melody, it sounds like music. They're not singing, but it's close to that. A lot of time, when it was over, I really felt like, basta with the tape. I really want to concern myself with instruments, and for almost 20 years, that's what I did. From 1971 to 1888, whatever it is, 16, 17 years. And then around the mid-'80s, I began hearing a lot of people using tape loops with speech on it, like, Laurie Anderson with "Oh, Superman," and other people, and I began thinking, gee, well, these people are getting a whole lot of stuff out of what I did back in the 60s. What am I going to get out of it? So I had this idea. Someone said, "Have you heard the sampler?" I said, "What's a sampler?" He said, "Well, it's like any sound you put into it. It's like a digital recorder, and you can play it right back." I said, "I want one of those." So that's really was the birth of Different Trains. The idea that you could program a computer with a keyboard attached with, I knew, speech samples. And then the idea being, okay, every time a woman speaks, the viola doubles her. Every time a man speaks, the cello doubles him. And later on, it turned out, and every time the train whistle blows, the violin plays the train whistle. That really was the putting together of "It's Gonna Rain and Come Out" with music. And that was Different Trains was kind of a line in the sand in the sense in which it was something really new, but which it was also kind of reclaiming something that was like 16, 17 years old. It's putting my own life together.
Was New York a good spot for combining your music with other types of art forms, such as visual art and even dance? Has there been any other connections?
There are probably lots of connections, and people have asked me, but basically Beryl's work is work that I have a lot of sympathy with as an artist. In other words, we think along the same lines, and if you're going to collaborate with somebody on something that takes years, you better do that. See, in the case of Anna Teresa de Keersmacher, the dancer, she basically, whose I have enormous regard for, she basically just took the music and choreographed it. I didn't even know. It took me 16 years before I saw Fazza, which absolutely knocked me out. But I mean, it wasn't a collaboration. She just, she said, "I like this music. I'm going to choreograph it," and I just, fine. And she made this masterpiece. But in the case of doing the video operas, it was really very, very tightly. If you've seen the pieces, they're everything is synced, and it's a lot of detail work, and you've really got to work with somebody who thinks, if we got through the K without a divorce, we're in good shape. We're in good shape.
What are some projects that you are at the moment working on? Are you still developing into different directions?
Am I still
developing into new directions? Or?
Oh yeah. I just finished. Well, you'll hear tonight the double sextet, which I wrote for Eighth Blackbird. And when I was watching them playing it, I was thinking the pianist and vibraphone player are just laying it down. I said, this is like a rock piece. So I thought to myself, well, why don't I write a rock piece? And I love the electric bass. I like the electric bass because...
I'm a bass player.
Are you a bass player? Saluta. So the beautiful thing about the electric bass, as you know, is that it's real short. Whop. If you were to, you can have two electric basses playing an interlocking line, and if you play the pizzicato on a classical bass, it sounds like mud. It would be terrible. And I want to have that kind of, that rhythmic energy that comes from interlocking in the lower register. And the electric bass is the only instrument that can do that. So I thought, what if the piano and the electric bass were the rhythm section, and the drummer would come in from time to time, which is what happens in 2x5, the piece I wrote for rock instruments. So I wrote this piece for rock instruments, and then almost unrelated, I went last September to Krakow in Poland, and there was a big festival, a lot of pop stuff. Johnny Greenwood was there, Aphex Twin was there, and I was there. And Johnny Greenwood had prepared his version of Electric Counterpoint, which is a piece I wrote for Trap Matheny, but he made his own tape, and it was a whole different thing. And I really liked the way he played it, and we started talking. He was a violist at Oxford before he was a rocker.
Oh, wow.
And interesting guy, good head. And I started talking, and when it was all done, I thought, gee, I ought to check out, Radiohead more carefully. So I went back and I went to the website, and I started listening to this, and two songs really, really got me. One of them was Everything in Its Right Place, which everybody seems to love, and the other one is from more recent, from Rainbows, called A Triangle Jigsaw Falling Into Place. So I decided, gee, I liked some of the bass lines, I liked some of the, the chord progressions, I liked some of the melodic material, and so I called up I emailed Johnny Greenwood and I said, would it be okay with you guys? He said, sure, and then the lawyers got together and I ended up giving them half my royalties. So now I'm writing what's called Radio Rewrite.
Cool.
It's not a remix, because remix is when you work with audio. I'm writing a piece of music, which is not for rock instruments at all. It's for the London Sinfonietta, and it'll be premiered in March of next year. But it's based on material that I took from their tunes.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
It's an honor to talk to you.
We
Great.
really appreciate your time and
Good,
discussing
good,
everything.
good. Well, we covered a lot of ground.
Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed tonight's show, and for additional things you can check out, as would be showing here by our magical cameraman, www.thegigbag.com.au. What?
Do you have to keep doing this?
No, I'm sure it will stay on the screen if you move your hands.
Anyway, you can also comment or like us on Facebook, which I think is, Facebook/thegigbag.
Something like that. So anyway, just search us. And
Facebook.com/thegigbag, I mean.
More likely. But yeah, so check out our stuff, and also if you've got any abusive comments, you can send it to Sabrina@thegigbag.com.au. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Good night.